Well, put your seatbelt on. Get yourself in a booster seat, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. Welcome, everybody, to the show. This is a big one. Let's start with this story. The GOP House Oversight Committee is doing an investigation into Biden's cognitive. And the whole thing seems kind of silly to me, because it's like, what are we going to get to the bottom of? His brain was old, and it kept getting older. And then we started hearing stuff like,
"You're the sucker. You're the loser."
So it's obviously just sort of a stunt. And it's funny because they called the House investigation into January 6th, where there really was stuff to get to the bottom of. Who was involved? What was Trump's participation? What was his responsibility? Etc. And they were like, this is a total scam. Why are we doing this? Trump's out of office. Biden, who's definitely not going to run again, we're doing a big investigation. Okay, well, one of Biden's aides, who was giving his testimony, had a really interesting way of responding to one of the questions, which I thought was fascinating, which was to drop an Epstein bomb, which I think for Democrats just might even separate it from the morality or the motivation you'd feel based on the circumstances we're in. Just strategically, I think this is key. Bring it back to that until Trump actually releases everything. And the question that was asked was of Andrew Bates, who was a top Biden aide, was, did you ever threaten journalists, or did the Biden administration ever threaten journalists to lose, that they would lose access because of something? And Andrew Bates goes, oh, that's interesting because Trump, well, actually, I'm spoiling it. Just watch. While you do, please do click the subscribe button. If you appreciate this show, there's only one like it. That's what I hear.
Have you ever threatened a journalist or an editor with future access to admin officials?
Like the AP, maybe?
I'm sorry?
Like the AP, maybe? Sorry, go ahead.
Would you like an interview, counselor? We can
No,
bring you back.
you could talk to your colleagues about the AP, the press pool, but go ahead.
So that's the lawyer. And the lawyer goes, like the Associated Press, which is what the Trump administration did, cutting off the Associated Press's access because they wouldn't call it the Gulf of America, because they wanted people who read their paper to know what they were talking about. And then the Trump administration went very nuclear, not literally. And then it gets to this Epstein part.
I do think that is a fair point when the current president is suing the Wall Street Journal.
I'm asking about you, sir.
No, I know. But I think that if the current president is suing the Wall Street Journal for outing elements of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
You may not like his answer, but let him finish.
I would ask that he answer my question.
Finish your answer.
The current president is suing the Wall Street Journal because they detailed that he wrote a disgusting letter to Jeffrey Epstein that said, "May every day be another beautiful secret." And I do not think that anything...
I think it was a wonderful secret, Andrew. Okay. Would you like to revise? Do you still think it's disgusting? A wonderful secret?
Anything I have ever done in my life could come remotely close to how unethical that is.
Okay, now I would like you to answer my original question, which was, have you ever threatened a journalist or editor with future access, or pulling back future access to admin officials?
The only thing that occurs to me is if someone had demonstrated a pattern of hiding relevant facts or of being over the top in their negativity to the degree that we did not trust them to be fair about their representation of people, we could then consider being less liberal in the way that we granted interviews, but that would have to be based on a very significant set of events, and I would not consider that to be a threat. I would consider that to be a reasonable caution about, hey, you left out.
Andrew, I liked the Epstein part. That was a good thing to drop. It's not a threat, a reasonable caution. I like that. It's like, I was half expecting him to go, it's not a threat. It was a promise.
A really important thing that our top person for whatever issue said, and that fundamentally changed the meaning. So how could we trust that if we do this kind of thing again, there won't be that kind of distortion?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the question's really getting at. Was it, because it's supposed to be about Biden's mental acuity, was it that they would punish journalists who reported on it? Maybe that's what the question's getting at. So then journalists wouldn't want to report on it, even though, hey, I'm old enough to remember all of the journalists who were reporting on it and still had a bunch of access. Every 3 days there was a panel on how old's Biden. Look, how do you think, if it weren't being reported on, if there was such a successful cover-up, and this is not me saying there weren't a bunch of things done wrong, there were, but just the extent of how this now has been characterized is getting a little under my skin. If there was such a successful cover-up, why was it like 2/3 of Americans were saying, that dude's too old? They kept saying that. Oh, I don't know. They kept saying that. So if there was a successful cover-up, there wasn't. But you're saying there was an attempt, but it failed really badly? Okay. But then it's tough when you're a Republican justifying Trump's actions to even bring up what normal presidents do, which is, yeah, you realize that there's a certain journalist or an outlet that you feel is being really dishonest to you. You're not going to grant them a bunch of interviews. Now, Biden wasn't doing a ton of interviews, so it was already pretty restricted, but you're definitely not going to give them cozy opportunities. I wish the presidents would be giving interviews every 2 seconds to everyone, obviously, and to me, mostly to me. Give them to me. Then we'll worry about the other people. But that's pretty normal operating procedure. You get upset at an outlet, you don't want to do as many interviews with them. But to even bring that up, when whoever was asking that question, is a Republican who justifies, or interviewing on behalf of a Republican who justifies what Trump's doing now. The Associated Press example is brought up, but that's even less egregious than the Epstein Wall Street Journal. They report on something that proved to be true later. We got the actual letter, and Trump sues the Wall Street Journal. And then he's been suing other outlets and then harming them with the government until they settle with him. To the point where a producer of CBS quit because the executives were putting so much pressure on them to self-censor because of the threats of Trump. And all the other examples we've been covering now for weeks. So it becomes a weak and silly question when that's the environment we're in. I think even though it was a whataboutism, it was a strong one. It was a strong one. Oh, yeah. What did I know about Biden's mental acuity? Epstein, man. I just thought of Epstein for a second. Weird. Isn't that weird? Maybe, I think, you know what we did? We wanted to really hide we had a document and it said Biden brain bad. And we put the document in a place we thought that it would never get released by Trump in the Epstein files. So if you want to figure out the truth about the cover-up, it's all outlined in the Epstein files. Just do that every time. Then you had a Biden aide, Mike Donnellan. This one, so the Andrew Bates, I'm like, okay, respect. That was pretty good. You're in this testimony. They're not going to want to use that footage anymore, even though now we got our hands on it, given what you brought up. But who did I just say? Mike Donnellan? This whole vibe was strange. Podcast listeners, get ready, because he's going to be quiet for so long. Like longer pauses than Alex Jones does when he goes, the deep state. Right. So just get ready for that. The show did not end. There will just be a lot of silence. And he's being asked, was your pay structure connected at all to Biden staying in the race or Biden winning re-election? And again, a lot of these questions, I get that you're doing an investigation. It's an utterly silly one. But, okay, you got to ask a lot of questions about a lot of things. Not all of them are going to be super relevant. But yeah, I assume people will get paid more if they get their candidate elected. Let's see.
That's my view.
Just to be clear, would the amount of pay you received for your role in the campaign, would that have changed depending on how far into the race President Biden made it?
My sense is that
Do we need to investigate Mike Donnellan's mental acuity? That's the next investigation. No, I'm kidding, Mike.
that he
What? Mike, you there?
in my view, the money was
You know, I remember we had a meeting in the Oval Office about my pay and decided that I'd get paid when the Epstein files were released. Do it, Mike. Do it.
that it was a guarantee of the campaign that we had had a negotiation, and that's my memory of the agreement.
Would you have received a bonus depending on the way the campaign went? Was that a possibility?
Podcast listeners, we're still here. Still here.
How the campaign went.
Were there any
Mike, stop. I'm trying to be loving here. Stop it. What do you know what the question is, right? He's going to get to the answer, which wasn't shocking to me. It's a lot of money, and it makes sense. A part of what caused the chaotic ending to Biden's presidency was that a lot of people around Biden had an incentive to keep him in the race. They were his guy. They wanted to have him elected. Maybe their pay structure was connected to that on the campaign front. So there's all these factors. We've examined them as to why there didn't have to be a set of malicious, smoky, backroom deals and conversations being had for the series of events to happen that ultimately led, tragically, to Trump winning. But the way, I don't know why he won't just be like, yeah, so I get paid $4 million, and then if he wins, I get paid another $4 million, which is what he ends up saying, which, whoa. As, hey, what's the phrase? Gamers bet game. That's a lot of money. Wow. That, I think that might have made you give him bad advice, Mike. And I'm mad at you for that. But that is so much money. How long? Over what period of time? Just the campaign? Just run a few campaigns, retire.
any circumstances in which you would have received a bonus?
Yes, there was.
What were those circumstances?
That Joe Biden would have been reelected president of the United States.
What was the bonus of Ben?
I believe it would have been $4 million.
In addition to the $4 million that you were already paid?
Yes.
So he said 4, right? Oh, I mean, that gives you some insight into why people who were his closest aides and staffers, they didn't know if the Harris campaign, if I'm understanding the situation correctly, or whoever got the nomination ultimately, they didn't know if they gave Biden the advice of, hey, we're looking at the polls. It's not looking good. You've done a lot of solid stuff, but the best thing is going to be drop out of the race or not run in the first place. And then the party can figure out who's going to run in your place. Because they don't know whoever that next person is, it ended up being Harris, if she would bring them on to her campaign. So there's a lot of money that can influence decision making, unfortunately. And that's what as I've followed some of this investigation, they want to have, just like when they absurdly claimed all sorts of incorrect things about Biden and Hunter Biden's business dealings. It's like you keep watching and watching, and they keep telling you something big's going to be exposed. And then everything that I already knew about or assumed about the situation, they portray as a bombshell. So in the Hunter case, it was, Hunter was doing business and benefited from the fact that he had a powerful father. But, we can't link anything that Biden necessarily did wrong, but still, there's something stinky there. And then a few months pass by and they don't care at all about Eric and Don Jr. going around the world making billions, but okay. And it's like, I already kind of assumed that was the situation, because otherwise the years in public life that have taken place, I think it would have been revealed if you had this big bombshell. And then similarly here, we're going to get to the bottom of Biden's cognitive. A lot of new people have come over since we did the Jubilee video. I'm saying that on purpose. Can you show them the context? I'm not
cognitively.
I'm not losing my mind. I know that that's not a correct sentence, but the Biden cognitive investigation is supposed to take some heat off of the terrible things happening with the Trump government, to bring the American people's attention back to Biden. I don't think it's working because I haven't really seen this covered much. Because again, I think we all have all the books have been written, all the interesting anecdotes about this thing and that thing and what was happening before the debate and after the debate, what we kind of know. And so now they're just going through the motions, and it's a little sad. One totally unrelated thing I just happened to have on my tabs here, Nancy Mace posted Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Look, she's not responding to anything. What? By the way, I've been around in the mirror. No, plenty of gay folks who have never, ever been like, do you know why being gay is okay? Because actually it was Adam and Steve. That's why. That's actually the story. I don't know what she's saying. We never know what Nancy Mace is up to. All right.